So, a few months ago, I decided to say goodbye to my software engineering job and the corporate world altogether to give myself 2 years to go all in on my dreams to be a founder and creator. Since then, it has been full of so many ups and downs, but it really has been a sweet adventure. I've met so many new people, learned so much, and been challenged in ways I've never been before. So here I am taking a next step and hopefully the right direction to continue betting on myself and my dreams at 27. We have a lot of things to catch up on. It is Wednesday and the Met is closed, so there's not a lot of people and I get to film freely here. Hopefully the sound quality is okay. Welcome back to Joyful Encounters. My name is Joy. I am a startup founder building in the B2C AI creator space, and I'm also a YouTube creator. In this channel, we like to talk about our feelings and dreams, and I have a major life update for y'all. I'm moving back home for the short term to live with my parents in Jakarta in order to take a bet on myself and not have to pay for rent. You know what they say, when you live with your parents, you don't pay for rent with money, you pay for rent with your mental health. And what better way to introduce our sponsor for today's video, BetterHelp. I want to preface by saying that BetterHelp has made a webpage to answer all the questions we may have, and I will link it in the description box down below. So I went to therapy for the first time 3 years ago when a close family member of mine suddenly passed away. It was the first time in my adult life that someone close to me passed away, and that too suddenly. I remember feeling a lot of emotions just from the shock of having someone close to me pass away. And before talking to a therapist, I didn't even realize how much I was affected by the passing. And therapy helped me process that grief and understand it and see pain from a different perspective and come to peace with it. So BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful advice. You will be matched with a therapist within 48 hours, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit the link in the description below and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Okay, now on to the video. Okay, so we have a lot of grounds to uncover, and in this video, I'll talk about why I decided to move home temporarily, my game plan, and why that move is actually a way for me to take a bet on myself and continue on this path of pursuing my dreams. So if you watch my how much money I saved before I left my job video, you'll know that I basically have 3 savings accounts, and the first savings account for the remainder of my time in my current New York apartment. My lease ends on May 31st, and sort of as I expected, I'm about to run out of that specific savings. I was sort of hoping that by the time I ran out of that savings, I would start making money off of YouTube. The good news is I have since become monetized and I've made a few $100s, and the money is slowly trickling in. But it's taking a little bit more time than I expected, and also everything with the startup, we've been making a lot of progress, but I feel like the journey is gonna take a little longer than I initially thought. Sort of like propelling myself into the startup space, I've been able to meet so many startup founders who are of similar age and a few years longer into the journey than I am. Although they're all in like different verticals, I feel like the one common thing is that they had to like stumble and tumble and fail for a few years. Yeah, I feel like I'd have to stumble and tumble a little longer than I initially expected, and that's okay. It is all part of the process. So I realized since YouTube money hasn't really kicked in and there's a lot more progress to be made with the startup, I feel like I need to give myself a little bit more of like personal and financial runway before I dip into my major savings account. Really, like the past few months of focusing on our startup and meeting other founders made me realize that the startup game is a really long journey. The sooner you give up, the more likely you'll fail. The more I dip into the savings account, the more I'll run out of my personal runway, and the more likely I'll give up, and that startup dream will always remain a dream. So not having to pay rent will help me cut my costs by a lot. Living in Asia is also much more affordable than in New York. For the past few months, I've been living a pretty like simple lifestyle. I've cut down on my spending by a lot. If I continued on that lifestyle in Jakarta, I'd probably spend at most 10% of what I spend here, and that just gives me like way more months of like personal runway, which honestly I feel like I need. If I don't move back home, it means that I have to look for another job to sustain myself so I can extend that personal runway. But that means I would have to split my focus and my time. When you're a startup founder or you're trying to pursue a dream, Like having uninterrupted focus is your greatest asset. Just going all in the past few months has allowed me to make way more progress on both YouTube and the startup. My focus, my time, my attention, it is my greatest asset as an entrepreneur. And I really want to protect it. Getting another job, especially in this early stage, will take me away from it, and I feel like for now I really just want to focus and take concentrated bets and see what happens. And I think personally for me, I know myself pretty well. I feel like I need to take concentrated bets, and I feel like I never do anything well if half of my foot is out the door. And I know I'm someone who's super dedicated and super passionate, and I do really well when I am all in. And that's not to say that this is right for everyone, but I know that this is the right decision for me because I'm the type of person who needs a little bit of pressure to make things work. So yeah, I'm being serious about it, taking things, of course, by the week and the month and seeing how it goes. Okay, let's move to another spot because this is the last time we'll be filming in front of the Met for a while, and it kind of makes me sad. I want to say that I really love my life here in New York. I love my friends. Most of my friends are here. When I moved in 2019, I had 2 suitcases. I knew 3 people, and I've managed to build this life that I've always wanted since I was a teen. Leaving New York is a sacrifice I need to make. I love the city, I love my life, but I have really big dreams that require sacrifice. I feel like a lot of people have really big dreams. A lot of people have ambition. But oftentimes what holds people back is because they don't want to make the personal sacrifice. And I feel like I really need to make the sacrifice because financially this makes the most sense. And if I could live my New York life, if I could not pay rent and continue living in New York, I'd probably do that. But unfortunately, those are not the cards that are handed to me. If I want to not pay for rent, then it means I need to live at home. And it's just a fact of life that you can't get everything that you want, and a lot of times in order to get what you want you need to make sacrifices. So here I am letting go of that New York life. Okay, hopefully I will no longer get harassed by birds. I do want to say though that I have spent 5 years in New York City, and I feel like I've gotten all I wanted out of the city. I moved here because I had big corporate girl dreams, and I managed to fulfill those dreams. The environment here feels very corporate. I want to eventually be in an environment that feels a lot more entrepreneurial, and that I'll be able to meet more founders, more creators in the future. My dream since I was 16, it was New York City. It was living this New York lifestyle. But now my dreams are bigger. They're no longer pegged to a place, and it's time for me to pursue them. So what's next, right? Will I be living with my parents forever? God, no, hopefully not. The short-term plan is to be home for a few months before spending some time in California in the fall, and then hopefully moving to San Francisco full-time by early next year. Why SF? I feel like for the last few months, there have been a lot of things that have slowly drawn me into SF, but the biggest one is easily the startup community, especially if you're a first-time founder. SF is hopefully the move in the next few months. It definitely was not an easy decision to make. It was something I ruminated over for months. I talked to my parents, I reflected a lot, and I felt very nervous for namely a few things. Okay, for starters, I take so much pride in being independent and being financially independent for being able to live outside of my home for so long. And I have not lived at home or with my parents for almost a decade. Although Jakarta is where I grew up, everyone I know there is not in a similar career, and everyone has sort of their own lives. And just because of the way the city is structured, friends are definitely not as accessible as here in New York, where I can literally just take a subway or even just walk across the streets to see my friends. And I was also afraid that being far away from America for a short period of time will cause me to lose my motivation, because as much as I feel like I am a motivated person, it would be really arrogant to not acknowledge the fact that your environment does affect you. But here are some things that I sort of realized. The fact that my friends are not as accessible in Jakarta is a good thing, because it means I have more time to focus. And I feel like for the next 3 months especially, I really need to just do YouTube and the startup and have no life outside of it. And I realized that if I lose my motivation of working on a startup, having a YouTube channel, being an entrepreneur, and decide that maybe I just want to get another job. If I lose that motivation by being at home for a few months, then maybe I am not the kind of founder I thought I would be, and maybe I really am not cut out for it, which is okay. Ultimately, I feel like I felt very nervous about living back home with my parents because almost a decade of living away from family changes you. It's a tricky dynamic that I would have to navigate. Okay, so probably what a lot of y'all are curious about is how did my Asian parents react, because I went from like New York corporate girly to like basically starving artist overnight, right? I feel really grateful that from the get-go, my parents have been so supportive. I told my parents around fall last year that I was thinking about leaving corporate to like do YouTube and start a company. And at that time, my parents asked me like, how many subscribers do you have? And I told them like 600. And they're like, oh, that's not a lot, right? Since then, they have watched every single YouTube video. They always give me feedback like, oh, your audio should be better. You should talk slower. They're just so supportive in that way. And when it came to like really like going full time on trying to start a company, my dad told me that you're young, your 20s are a time to like experiment and try new things. So my parents don't have that entrepreneurial background, and they have no idea what startups are, what software engineering is, what tech is, whatsoever. And my dad said he knows that, and because he knows that he doesn't know what I want, he will do what he knows best, which is just to trust me. And I realized that ultimately, like, the greatest privilege I have is having supportive parents who love me as I am and believe in me and my dreams, because I feel like a lot of the decisions I had to make would have been so much harder if my parents thought that I would fail or I should just get another job. And I'm really grateful that my parents are so supportive and loving. Even though I do feel a little nervous about family dynamics when I moved back home, I realized ultimately having a home to come back to is a really big privilege that a lot of people don't have. So I used to see going home or moving back home as a failure. Like, I don't judge my friends who personally move back home like after college, because a lot of my friends did that. But for me personally, I went to a 4-year college from Indonesia. I felt like that was such a big privilege, being able to have parents who supported that. And I felt like I had to make the most out of it, which meant that I had to look for a job in America. I used to really think that I had to make the most out of every single opportunity, because if not, it meant that I was a failure or I was not able to honor the privilege that has been given to me by my family. But now I realize that it's okay to take a few steps back in order to win the war. You know, that's like my favorite quote: lose some battles, win the war. Yeah, I really realized that this is like a sacrifice I need to make, because I can't have everything. I can't have New York and stability and the startup. I can only have like one or two things. Right now for me, the top priority is to have personal runway so I can keep at YouTube and my startup without having to split my focus, because I feel like taking concentrated bets and being able to focus on something is when things will begin to blossom. And yeah, I believe in the journey. I believe that it's all part of the process. And I believe that ultimately one day I'll look back and be proud of myself for taking these steps. So some feelings. It's been a few months. I want to say 3 months since I've like done this fully. And we've had a lot of milestones. I got monetized. I started making a couple $100s. Got interviewed by YC, a couple of VCs, which never happened to me before. Doubled our user base, improved our product. A lot of these things look intangible to like someone from the outside, but believe me when I tell you, just 6 months ago, these things, I did not think I could have achieved them. These are baby steps that I'm really proud of, and I want to keep working at it and see how it grows, because I believe that I'm on the right track. But yeah, let's humble myself with some takeaways. So when I decided to do this, I told myself that this is my version of going to grad school, that I will time box it to 2 years and evaluate how I feel at the end of 2 years. Because I feel like at least if everything fails and I end up crawling back looking for a job, at least I'll never wonder what if, you know? Because I feel like for the longest time, I kept wondering what if. I feel like there's something else I should be doing in my life. And at least at the end of 2 years, even if I fail, I'll know. I also feel like your 20s, it's a time to experiment and to try new things, to make changes. And I'm just here trying to embrace the messy uncertainty of it all and really just trying to trust the process. There are some reminders, mainly for myself, but also if you need like some assurance, because I know a lot of people watching my channel apparently are trying to start something too. If you play silly games, you win stupid prizes. Make sure that you're climbing the mountain that you want to climb. If it was easy, anyone can do it. There's no such thing as an overnight success. And trust the process, trust yourself, and really only take advice from people whose lives you admire. So this is one of my last New York videos. I have a few more New York videos lined up, but I'm actually moving out of New York tomorrow. Apartment tour video is coming up. Moving out of New York video is coming up. I will be spending some time in Seoul with my dad for a week before hunkering down to work for at least 3 months. Yeah, I won't be a New York vlogger anymore. I know a lot of people follow me for like New York content. I hope you don't unsubscribe. I hope you keep supporting me on this journey, because really like reading a lot of your comments and getting your messages, it really means a lot. I was walking in New York the other day and like someone stopped me and told me they liked my videos, and I was so shook. That was the first time anyone has ever recognized me, and I'm sorry because I had my flight mode activated. I didn't think anyone knew who I was. So yeah, thank you. If you're watching this, thank you for saying hi. I'm sorry I did not have a better response. Exciting content coming up. I'll keep posting weekly and keep you posted. It really is such a bittersweet feeling of like closing one chapter and moving on to the next. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment, because your girl needs it. I know 90% of you who watch are not subscribed, but please subscribe because I need that YouTube money so I can move to SF ASAP. Help a girly out. Overall, I feel good. I feel like it's gonna take a lot longer than I expected, but I feel like we're making progress and we're eventually gonna get there. So that's my life. That's my big life update. I'm putting myself out on the internet because I feel like people glorify entrepreneurship so much, and they don't realize that actually trying to start a company is a really humiliating process. And yeah, I just wanted to be transparent. If you're ever in New York, you should get Levain's cookies. They're really bad for you, but they're so good. Like, I love levain so much, and I'll miss it as well. You know, I talk to you like I talk to my friends. So I hope you guys are nice in the comments, because this is nerve-wracking to film. I really value when people are able to be vulnerable and show up as themselves on the internet, so I'm trying to do that. Thanks for watching. As always, love you. Bye.